The rain had already turned the alley into a river of oil-dark water when the poor single dad lifted the garage door and froze. Under the flickering security light, barely cutting through the storm, lay a woman curled around a small boy, both bruised, soaked, and trembling like they had been dropped there and forgotten. Her hair was matted with blood, the child's face streaked with dirt and tears, and for one terrifying second the man thought they were already dead. His heart slammed against his ribs as the weight of his own empty fridge, overdue rent, and exhausted body vanished beneath a single instinct that overpowered everything else: protect them. That night, outside a rusted garage in a forgotten part of town, would unravel secrets tied to power, money, and cruelty beyond anything he could have imagined. If you believe kindness can change lives and second chances still exist in this world, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss stories that remind us what humanity really means. The man's name was Daniel, and life had worn him thin in ways that never showed on paper. Widowed young, raising his daughter alone, working double shifts fixing engines and patching broken machines for people who never remembered his name, he had learned to survive without expecting mercy. His garage was not a business so much as a shelter made of tools, grease, and stubborn will. That night, as rain soaked through his jacket, he carried the woman and child inside without asking who they were or why they were bleeding. He did not pause to think about the risks or the bills or the fact that he barely had enough medicine for his own kid. He simply moved, because some part of him refused to become the kind of man who closed a door on suffering. Inside the garage, under harsh fluorescent lights, the damage became clearer. The woman's face was swollen, one eye nearly shut, her arms marked with fingerprints that told a story no words were needed to explain. The boy clung to her even in unconsciousness, his small hands fisted in her torn coat as if letting go would mean disappearing forever. Daniel cleaned their wounds with shaking hands, his chest tight with anger he had nowhere to put. Every bruise reminded him of nights when his late wife had cried silently so their daughter would not hear. Trauma recognized trauma, and it cut deeper than any blade. Hours passed slowly, measured by the drip of water from the roof and the hum of an old heater fighting the cold. When the woman finally stirred, panic flared in her eyes until she saw Daniel's daughter sleeping on a cot nearby, her school backpack clutched like a teddy bear. Something softened in the woman's face then, and tears spilled down her cheeks without sound. Daniel did not press her for answers. He offered soup, clean clothes, and a quiet corner to rest, because survival had taught him that safety comes before explanations. Over the following days, the garage became something else entirely. It became a place of cautious healing. The boy, whose name Daniel learned was Eli, followed him everywhere, silent but observant, watching as engines came apart and went back together. The woman, named Mara, helped where she could, sweeping floors, organizing parts, trying to repay kindness with effort. Yet there was a tension in her, a constant listening, as if danger might burst through the door at any moment. Daniel noticed the way she flinched at loud noises, the way she scanned license plates outside, and the way she woke at night drenched in fear. Bit by bit, the truth surfaced, not as a dramatic confession but as fragments that refused to stay buried. Mara was not poor. She was not lost. She was hiding. Her family controlled an oil empire that stretched across countries, a legacy built on power, influence, and silence. When her husband died under suspicious circumstances, she and her son became obstacles in a world where obstacles were removed, not negotiated with. She had tried to escape quietly, but money could not protect her from men who believed ownership extended to people as much as land. The beating outside the garage was a warning meant to finish the job. Daniel listened, his hands black with grease, his mind struggling to reconcile the broken woman before him with the kind of wealth that could reshape nations. The revelation did not inspire our fear. It made him angry. Angry that someone with everything could still be hunted, and angrier still that cruelty thrived behind polished boardrooms and smiling headlines. He understood then that the danger was not over, and that by opening his door, he had stepped into a storm far bigger than his small life. The pressure came quickly. Strange cars idled nearby. Men asked questions disguised as concern. Offers of money arrived with threats woven so delicately they sounded almost polite. Daniel felt the familiar weight of being trapped by circumstances, but this time, it was not just his life on the line. His daughter's safety haunted him every moment, and the temptation to walk away clawed at his resolve. He could tell himself this was not his fight. He could justify sending Mara and Eli elsewhere. Yet every time he considered it, he remembered the alley, the rain, and the fact that someone had once taken his wife from him without consequence. The turning point came not in a burst of violence, but in a quiet act of courage. Daniel contacted an old friend, a former journalist now living off-grid after exposing corporate corruption. Together, they documented everything Mara knew, every threat, every financial trail that linked the oil empire's clean image to its darkest secrets. It was dangerous, slow work, done at night while the garage slept, but hope grew in the cracks. For the first time, Mara stood taller. Eli laughed again. Daniel's daughter began to see the world as something bigger than loss. When the story finally broke, it did not explode. It spread. Investigations followed. Stock prices trembled. Names once untouchable appeared in headlines alongside words like abuse, coercion, and murder. The men who had hunted Mara vanished into legal shadows, scrambling to save themselves. Protection arrived, official and undeniable. For all its flaws, the system sometimes moved when light was forced upon it. The day Mara and Eli prepared to leave for a secure location, the garage felt unbearably quiet. The smell of oil and metal held memories now layered with laughter and shared meals. Mara pressed something into Daniel's hand, not money at first, but gratitude heavy enough to change the way he saw himself. She later ensured his garage was transformed legally, ethically, into a thriving business, funded without strings, run with dignity. But that was not the gift that mattered most. What mattered was the shift inside Daniel. He had always believed survival was the highest goal. Now he understood that standing up, even when afraid, could reshape not just one life but many. His daughter learned that kindness did not make you weak. Eli learned that safety could exist again. Mara learned that help could come from the least expected places. Just before this story ends, take a moment and comment below with one word that describes how this journey made you feel. Your words help this channel reach others who need stories like this. As the final images faded, the garage door closing not as a barrier but as a promise, Daniel stood alone in the quiet, hands resting on worn tools. Heart heavier and fuller than ever before. He had not sought heroism, and he would never call himself brave. Yet in choosing compassion over fear, he had disrupted a machine built to crush the vulnerable. The oil empire would recover in some form. Power always did. But something irreversible had happened. A woman and her child were alive. A man had reclaimed his sense of worth. A small corner of the world had tilted, just slightly, toward justice. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that humanity still matters in a world obsessed with power, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support keeps these stories alive and helps kindness travel further than cruelty ever could.